Greetings, survivors, this is ResilientZ back with another video. In today's video, we'll be discussing each hero introduced in the game through the Terminator collaboration. We'll go over whether the hero is worth investing in, if it's recommended to push for them, and my suggested skill upgrade path for each Terminator hero. I know many players have been waiting for this content, and I apologize for the delay in bringing it to you. Without further ado, let's dive right in. First of all, let's talk about the T-800, Damaged. T-800, Damaged, is a rider-style hero and is recommended for the Resilience style. Personally, I'd recommend going for this hero if your main build is Resilience, as he will be very useful for you. However, if you're not using Resilience-style heroes, then I wouldn't recommend this hero. His true potential is only revealed when paired with Resilience style. Now let's talk a little about his completion skill, Shrapnel Judgment. He attacks the enemy's front row with his shotgun, dealing heavy damage and applying a debuff that makes them take extra damage. If he's used in a Resilience squad, the damage increases further as his own troops get reduced. This skill is strong because it not only chips away at the enemy with consistent shotgun blasts but also makes them more vulnerable for follow-up attacks. In a Resilience setup, it becomes even more dangerous since losing troops directly powers up the damage, making him hit harder the longer the battle drags on. Now let's talk about the recommended upgrade path for his skills. If you plan to use T-800, Damaged, in a Resilience setup, then I recommend upgrading the skill on the right first, Fury Override, since it's tailored for Resilience-style squads. However, if you're not planning to use him with Resilience, you can ignore this skill. The second skill you should prioritize is the one on the top, Ballistic Optimization, as it greatly boosts his shotgun damage and strengthens his main attack. Lastly, the final priority should be Burnout, which increases the effect of Vengeance Mark and adds even more value to his overall damage output. Now let's move to our second hero for today, T-800 Endoskeleton. T-800 Endoskeleton is an infantry resonating hero, tailored for control setups. If you plan to use T-800 Endoskeleton with your control setup, then he will be a very strong hero for you. However, if you're not planning to use him in a control setup, then he isn't that effective. Now let's talk a little about his completion skill, Retaliation Protocol. This skill allows him to counterattack whenever he takes damage, hitting back for a portion of damage received. On top of that, he has a chance to trigger self-repair, healing some of the damage taken. If used in a control squad, that healing becomes even stronger. What makes this skill effective is that it punishes enemies for targeting him, forcing them to take extra damage every time they hit him. Meanwhile, the self-repair adds durability, making him harder to take down, especially in control setups where the healing is boosted. Essentially, the longer he's under fire, the more value he provides to the team. Now let's talk about the recommended upgrade path for T-800 Endoskeleton. First, I recommend upgrading the skill on the right, Regeneration Matrix, but only if you're using T-800 Endoskeleton with a control hero. This skill boosts the effect of self-repair, which is excellent for an infantry hero's survivability. However, if you're not pairing him with control, then this skill won't work, so it can be ignored. Next, the second priority should be the skill on the left, Self-Repair. Like Regeneration Matrix, it improves his self-repair ability, but unlike the right side skill, it doesn't require him to be resonated with control style. This makes it a very solid upgrade for infantry in general. Lastly, the top skill, Return Fire, should be your final priority. While it does add extra damage, infantry heroes shine more in tanking and survivability, so damage-focused skills come last. Now, let's talk about our next hero, Sarah Connor. Sarah Connor is a hunter resonating hero, tailored for Resilience setups. She is a very strong hero, especially when paired with a Resilience hero. However, even without Resilience, she holds her own and remains a solid choice. For F2P or low spenders who don't have a strong hunter hero, I highly recommend going for her. She can be obtained relatively easily for free and built to a decent level. While she works with other styles, her true potential shines when paired with ResilientZ, which is where I recommend using her. Now let's talk a little about her completion skill, Bullet of Fate. This skill lets Sarah fire her sniper rifle every 2 turns, hitting the enemy's front row with a strong attack. She also has a high chance to land critical hits, which greatly increase the damage. In a ResilientZ setup, her critical hits become even more devastating, adding an extra boost. On top of that, she deals additional damage to enemies marked by the T-800 or T-800 damaged, making her synergy with them extremely powerful. This skill is great because it combines consistent damage with big burst potential from crits, and when you factor in her ResilientZ bonuses plus the Vengeance Mark synergy, she becomes a deadly hunter that punishes enemies hard if left unchecked. Now, let's talk about the recommended upgrade path for Sarah Connor. First, I recommend upgrading the skill on the right, Nerfed Steel, but only if you're planning to use her in a ResilientZ setup. This skill boosts the damage of her critical hits when paired with ResilientZ, making her much deadlier. However, if you don't plan on running her with ResilientZ, you can skip this one. Second priority should be the top skill, Enhanced Barrel, which increases the damage of her sniper rifle. Since she fires every 2 turns, adding extra damage here makes her output very consistent and strong for a hunter hero. Lastly, the left skill, Silent Verdict, should be your final upgrade. This one also increases her critical hit damage, similar to Nerfed Steel, but it doesn't require her to be in a ResilientZ setup. Now let's talk about the last hero for today's video, Special Operative T-800. Special Operative T-800 is a rider-resonating hero that works well with all hero styles. He is extremely strong, no matter what setup you run him with. From my initial testing, I noticed that he can easily beat Vera and Nara even at just level 4 with only his skills unlocked. Whether he is stronger than Anna and Elika is something I'll cover in another video. Now let's discuss his completion skills. Being a special operative, T-800 comes with 2 of them. Number 1, Vengeance Blast. Every few turns, he blasts the enemy's front row with his shotgun, dealing heavy damage and applying Vengeance Mark, which makes those enemies take more damage. On top of that, the more troops he loses, the stronger the shotgun blast becomes. What makes this skill so good is that it combines consistent damage with scaling power. Unlike T-800 damaged, you don't need him to be in a ResilientZ setup for it to scale, which means he can fit into any squad and still be effective. Number 2, Alloy Armor. This skill provides a defensive buff to all your squads, reducing the damage they take. Additionally, whenever enemies attack, there's a chance their weapons get disrupted, lowering the damage they deal for several turns. This is a very powerful skill because it not only increases your team's survivability but also weakens the enemy's offense at the same time. It creates a balance of protection and control, giving your side an edge in longer battles. Now let's talk about the upgrade path for T-800 before we wrap up the video. For the Vengeance Blast skill, the first upgrade I recommend is Ballistic Optimization, as it greatly boosts the shotgun damage and makes his main attack much stronger. Second, go for Fury Override, which consistently increases shotgun damage as troop count drops, giving him more punch the longer the battle goes on. Lastly, upgrade Burnout, which improves the effect of Vengeance Mark and further amplifies the overall damage output. Moving on to the Alloy Armor skill, start with Hardened Alloy, which enhances titanium armor and reduces incoming damage even more. Next, upgrade Circuit Break, since it cuts down the enemy's damage through weapon disruption. Finally, go for Interference Layer, which raises the chance of disrupting enemy weapons, making their attacks less reliable. Personally, I'd recommend focusing on Vengeance Blast first. That's it for all the recommendations for today. Before we end the video, I'd like to mention that everything shared here is based on my personal experience and opinions. Some of you may have different views, and that's perfectly fine. I think it's great to exchange ideas, so if you have any feedback or suggestions, feel free to drop them in the comments. That's it for this video. I really hope you found it helpful and informative. If you enjoy my content, please like the video, share it with your allies, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and thank you for your continuous support.